Good evening, everyone. Welcome to what traditionally is called Satsang. This event takes place once a month, and for me, it is very similar to visiting every now and then the church or the mosque or the synagogue. It is a sacred opportunity to bring into sharp focus, into immense concentration, our journey of growing awareness. We may not be so as religious nowadays. We may not go find ourselves visiting temples. This is because we are, as humanity, at least to a certain degree, we are shifting our attention from the external God to the understanding of our very own consciousness. So this is why I'm saying that this is a sacred event, because in a way we are visiting our own consciousness as the temple. There is one very great saint called Ananda Moima, and she said once, if you know God, you know yourself, and if you know yourself, you know God. That's a very simple summary of the entire purpose of Satsang, what we're doing here and why it is so exceptional in light of the way we spend our days, usually occupied with naturally with self-concerns, with duties, with tasks, with all the demands of daily life. And here we shift to intense concentration on that awareness which follows, witnesses, which is aware of this daily life, which is always there and is actually the real miracle of life. But a miracle we tend to overlook. So satsang is all about gathering our energy, gathering our attention to pay attention to this miracle that is greater than any miracle or that has ever been taken place supposedly on earth, whether it is walking on water and so on and so on. The awareness that is aware of any type of miracle is the miracle, you see? So we want to study it, we want to pay attention to it, to be aware of awareness. So the purpose of satsang is to do that, to become aware of awareness, to bring into sharp focus all that, but also to then constantly quicken our own spiritual journey, which means that with every meeting, it's meant to help us to move to the next step, not to get stuck, because there are so many traps, so many pitfalls, confusions. We can get stuck in one thought or one conclusion for many years on this journey because it is so alone nowadays. It is very individual, which has its beauty, taking the journey alone, but also its dangers or its limitations. Although satsang is one in essence, it doesn't matter what the subject of satsang is, because because what matters is this attention, full attention given to the miracle of awareness. We still dedicate each satsang to a certain topic. And to open this evening, let us begin with a sort of guided meditation, a certain guided meditation that will contain in it the entire subject of this particular evening. So let us close our eyes. We'll take one deep breath. Then breathe slowly and deeply. Relaxing more and more. With every breath we take. And we will begin our meditative journey by paying attention to the most obvious reality, the most obvious fact of our existence, which is the very sense that I exist, the very sense of self-existence, self-presence, the sense that I am. To shift to this basic presence, it is as if we are moving back to the beginning of so many sentences and so many thoughts and so many feelings that we experience every day. I am happy. I am sad. I want this. I want that. I am hungry. I am satisfied. I have a body. I am a man. I am a woman. I am a human. So at the root of all these sentences, there is just one sense of self-existence. It is at the very beginning of each of these sentences, we say, I am. So now let us locate this sense of self-existence. And for that, we perhaps can look within our body. Is this sense of I am, this sense of self-presence, more present in a certain area in the body than in others? Perhaps it is right now mainly in the head, in the top of the head, in the forehead, in the chest, in the belly, in our hands. This doesn't matter. Perhaps it is above the head. Wherever we feel it, even if it is right now like a very tiny seed of self-presence, just get in touch with this feeling, this very basic feeling, this very knowing that I am. And then just allow through your attention and breathing, allow this sense of self-existence to grow and grow, as if your attention is the water, warmth and light that make the seed of I am grow and expand. So it gradually spreads throughout the body. Until it is everywhere in the body, not just in that particular area. so that the sense of I am now fills the entire body from head to toe. But as you continue to breathe into this sense of I am, feel how, just like a cup that is filled with water, but if you don't stop, the water begins to overflow. In the very same way, this sense of I am overflows beyond the boundaries of the body until it encompasses not only the physical body, but also the space that surrounds it. Now the sense of I am is bigger than the body. So now as you keep breathing into the sense of I am, feel how it continues to spread. Now it is not just in the body and around the body, but it also begins to spread throughout the room in which you are right now. So that it fills the entire space. From wall to wall, permeating the objects in the room. But as you continue to breathe into it and to allow it to expand, it naturally and effortlessly continues to flow through the ceiling, through the floor, through the walls. What started as a mere seed is now being realized as a presence that doesn't have boundaries. The more you look for its boundaries, the more you realize that you don't know where it ends. Feel how it continues to flow, to reach all the way to the core of the earth. At the same time, it spreads throughout the universe, all the way to the far edges of the universe, if there are such edges. Until there is not even one molecule in the space that you can imagine that is devoid of this presence. Now feel how everywhere in the universe this sense of I am that has started so small and now is literally everywhere. How this I am is in everything, in every single point. In every sentient being, in every plant, tree, planet, sun. The entire universe is in fact the body of this I am. All phenomena are legs and arms and eyes and mouth of this I am. So this I am that was hiding all along inside your very sense of self-presence is now revealed as the one universal I am that resides in the heart of every sentient being, every organism. Feel yourself as this I am and the world as your body. So now pour some of this presence back into the body. So you can experience both this universality and the individual body and mind that you have at the moment. and then slowly and gently come out of the meditation. I hope that you understand that this is not science fiction. It is not a visualization that is meant to excite us. It is nothing but a description of reality. And it is quite available to us. It is just a matter of a brief meditation on the nature of our very sense of self-presence. We said at the beginning that we are going to place all our attention on awareness itself. But our focus this evening is on that last part of our meditation. This part in which we are realizing that the universe is our body, that our I am resides in all and everything. Because there is this grand understanding that is extremely existential, that is a matter of consciousness. But there is also another very important aspect that we're going to highlight this evening, and that is the aspect of heart opening. Heart opening. Because it is not so obvious that we know what heart opening is, what it actually means. You can ask yourself right now, what most immediately comes to mind when you think of heart opening, what it entails. So it's important to understand that in heart opening, there is also a crucial aspect that is included, which is the expansion of the heart. The expansion of the heart. The expansion of the heart means that the heart expands beyond its familiar present boundaries. The heart, when it is unawakened, is centered. It has boundaries. It has limits. Limits to its concerns. Limits to what can interest the heart, our heart, which is the source of our attention, what we determine to dedicate our attention to. So, for most, this sense of heart expansion is not available yet, and we need to know what unlocks it. What makes the heart break through its boundaries? So it is really finally open. And when we think of heart opening, there is a lot of talk about self-healing, self-acceptance, self-love, working on our or on letting go of our past, of our pain, of our wound, of learning to be at peace with our relationships, and so on and so on. That is all correct. However, this doesn't allow at all heart expansion. This doesn't enable the heart to break through its boundaries. Because what does it mean to break through the boundaries? It means to be able to include more in my heart, you see? The heart presently can feel so small, so tiny. It's my heart, my heart. And my heart, of course, it needs protection, it needs healing, and it needs acceptance, and it needs warmth and nourishment and all that. But expansion of the heart means that it grows beyond the sense that this is my heart, that it becomes capable of including things that usually are not a part of our self-interest, you see, are not a part of what is most urgently occupying us, troubling us, concerning us, or our loved ones, which is just the same. There is no difference between caring for myself and caring for my child or for my parent in this sense, because it's still the concerns of my heart. So the expansion of the heart means that we are able to slowly include others and universal sense, and the universal sense that actually becomes now the center of our concern, the center of our attention. So for this, what is required for heart expansion is abandoning myself in self-obsession, my self-concern, being so centered within myself, so limited to my heart, to my love, what I consider to be cherished objects. You see, in this sense, the heart is meant to break. We often use the term heartbreak only in a negative sense, having my heart broken, but the heart needs to break also in the sense of breaking its familiar boundaries, so that it, just like we did in the meditation of the I Am, suddenly this small seed is no longer located within our body. Suddenly it is everywhere. It is all-inclusive. In the very same way, the heart is not my heart. That's one of the biggest illusions. The heart is by nature a universal phenomenon. Now, the thing is that a spiritual journey, what it is all about, a spiritual journey teaches us a very simple and basic reality. It reflects a very simple reality. And that is that the source of our suffering is self-centeredness, self-occupation, being so busy with my petty problems, with being so limited to the concerns of one separate unit in time and space. This is why I suffer. Which means, of course, that accordingly, the purpose of the spiritual journey is the cessation of my preoccupation with myself, which means that I can leave it behind, right? That it's no longer a psychological concern. I'm no longer troubled with this self-creating or self-generating factory of problems. Now, the thing is that because this is what the spiritual journey is all about, this is the purpose of the journey, and this is the core insight of the journey. If I am still focused on this self-occupation, self-obsession, if I'm still living only for myself, for my own benefit, if I only care about myself, whether it is my spiritual journey or getting more money and a great social status or whatever, sooner or later, my spiritual journey comes to a halt. It becomes frozen. From a certain point onwards, I can no longer develop. I can imagine that I'm developing. I can continue to visit seminars and retreats and read books, but the spiritual journey cannot unfold. It cannot continue to flourish. If it is still all about my process, my experiences, my insights, my self-improvement, my, you see? My self-love, my growing self-love, my growing freedom from traumas, from the past, my meditation, even my enlightenment, it doesn't matter. Since the heart cannot open, as long as I cling to this kind of very limiting concept of the spiritual journey is stopped. And it is not possible to open the heart as long as the journey remains for myself, for my own sake, my own benefit. We need to understand the narrow focus on our happiness, on our liberation, prevents the full realization of the heart's potential. Because we're keeping it so small. And the heart's potential is all about becoming or revealing itself as a universal phenomenon. The heart is the heart of all, or it is nothing. Or it is forever in hunger, forever in poverty. And this heart awakening is vital for full enlightenment, for full liberation. Do you understand? So at a certain point, if we don't begin to realize that the whole journey is about stopping being so occupied with myself, with my journey, with my process, there is no more actual process going on. I'm just moving in loops, in circles. I can no longer break the confines. And therefore, I'm also, to a certain degree, still caught in a subtle form of suffering. So in this way, the heart remains closed no matter what we practice. Why? Because the self remains at the center of even our most wonderful practices and experiences of no self. You experience perhaps self-transcendence, even the meditation that we just did at the beginning of the Satsang. We experience this spreading of the I am, which is completely true. But as long as the heart is not open, this wonderful experience of reality remains contained by the self. So the heart must become involved in this process of expansion. Otherwise, even if you don't say it consciously, it is as if we're saying, I am the center of the universe, or I am the most important person in the world. And you can say definitely that the very sense that we are the center of the universe, or that our I is the center of existence, has some reality to it, right? Because as we realized in the meditation, in this sense of I am, the entire consciousness of the universe is included. But definitely, when it is the I am as we know it, as the limited self, the limited personal self, this sense of self-importance is drastically disproportionate, drastically and grotesquely disproportionate. So please take a look at the spiritual journey, the journey of awareness. We perhaps experience great silence or peace or being here and now, but the thing is that it is still our silence, our here and now, our experience of peace, our insight. So there is an inherent limitation that will actually always keep us in a state of neurotic dissatisfaction. We will not understand why. We will not understand why. Perhaps we're visiting, we're experiencing so many things, but still there is some kind of unresolved limitation. There is no breakthrough. And it is a fact, right, that the obsession, it was the obsession of a life for our satisfaction that has led us to eventually to the state of disappointment and dissatisfaction, right? The more we try to live for our own sake, the more we felt dissatisfied. That's the reality. Isn't that what propelled us to embark on the spiritual journey in the first place? Wasn't this the realization that awakened in us the passion for a more authentic way of life, more authentic experience of reality? As long as I don't understand, as long as I don't recognize this fact, that this is what the journey is all about. It's about the realization that a life focused on my own self, on my own personal self, no matter how I will try to embellish it, to decorate it, to make it more colorful or more interesting or more profound or more authentic or whatever, at the end of the day, it will lead to dissatisfaction. So our search for satisfaction leads us to constant dissatisfaction. And this can completely continue on our spiritual journey. You see, it doesn't matter whether we have replaced our search for satisfaction in the external world with the search for satisfaction in the so-called internal world, in our meditation, in our development, or anything. It is the very focus on ourselves that causes very tiny problems to become magnified, you see? And we can be so ridiculously busy with such petty things, sometimes for days, for weeks, for months, for years. And this also causes our desires, the fulfillment of our desires, our small wishes to become so important. It appears so significant, so needed. But this is, please take a look and make use of this moment to observe life as it is, since this only keeps us in a loop. Now, of course, it's confusing since the spiritual journey requires much focus on ourselves. It means that we are moving a large portion of our of the attention that has been ordinarily wasted on external circumstances, events, people. We are moving this attention to focus on a greater focus on development and growth and flourishing and sensitivity. But what happens is that this easily becomes mixed with our narcissistic age, you see, because we live in such an age that gives us so a lot of free time and availability, being so uncontrolled or undirected by greater external forces, by structures, by frameworks that we can in a way create our own lives. But this easily leads us to an intense focus on myself, my needs, my wishes, my sensitivity, my hopes, my desires. So, ironically, what happens is that the journey that was meant to liberate me from myself now only becomes an incentive, a greater reason for focusing more on myself. Again, this may not have been a problem unless this has kept us in bondage, has kept us in a state of an unawakened heart. Because do we feel this heart awake, alive? Not only because we are loved or because we love our loved ones, but do we feel the heart as it naturally is capable of, with its natural capacities of love and compassion beyond self-concern? So we should broaden the context. It's like broadening the context in which the journey takes place. That the very journey, that the entire journey takes place not only for me, but for the greater good, for the sake of the whole, for life as a whole, for the world. We need to clarify our intention, to remind ourselves constantly that with every spiritual practice, even with every satsang that is taking place in our life, the brighter the sky of our mind becomes, the more available we are, the more focused we are on others, on the world, on universal concerns. The more we are capable of leaving ourselves behind truly. When I was in the height of my own spiritual search, I remember very well how I wrote so instinctively, so intuitively, and without any conscious deliberation, intention. I wrote in my diary, my purpose or my aim is to liberate the world from myself. Not to liberate myself from the world, but to liberate the world from myself. To liberate to liberate the world from the burden of myself. Now, this did not have any kind of traditional background or understanding what it was all about, but it was a sense that this is the only real commitment. That it cannot be about myself because the whole purpose of the journey was about this liberation, putting an end to self-concern, and therefore it doesn't make sense that the purpose can be egoistical in any sense. It cannot have a benefit for me, for the person. It must lead beyond the person. Do you understand that this is what the spiritual journey is all about? Because if we realize that our heart has remained after many years dormant, little, limited, my heart, if we haven't risen to universal concern and to a sense of universality, if we are not capable of including the entire universe in our heart, and to have this behind our very intention, our very motivation for development, then we should ask ourselves, have we neglected something crucial on the way? Because the spiritual journey, if it is authentic, cannot lead to more withdrawal, more indifference. More introverted perspective. Digging more in one's own experiences and passions and memories and freedom from memories and so on and so on. This cannot be it. The task, the goal is to become truly available by understanding oneself. Of course, what happens is that we think very often that this will happen one day. One day we will dedicate our life to the greater whole, to the world. Of course, when we have when we have completed the process of accepting ourselves. Only when sometimes there is a cliche going on in the spiritual world, only when you have fully accepted yourself and loved yourself will you be able to love others. Is that true? Question that. The truth is that as long as I'm busy trying to accept myself, I'm actually limiting my attention. Self-acceptance has perhaps its part, but it cannot be the ultimate goal, the final goal, you see. So, but even if I say yes, so one day when I've become a complete Buddha, a completely awakened being, or when I've completed the process of accepting myself, only then will I be available for this. Now I must focus on myself. Now, there are at least 3 problems with this kind of approach. One is that opening our heart, expanding our heart is a condition, as we said, a condition for our growth and for our insight right now, not in the future. As we said, without it, we might not be able to continue the journey authentically. The second problem with this kind of approach of waiting for the future is that we already have so much right now to share, so much abundance. With every insight, with every satsang, we are actually overflowing. We can already benefit now so significantly and so beautifully that there is absolutely no excuse for why we should keep it for later. Like we need to accumulate it so we can have enough and then we can share it. But this is not. It doesn't work like this. It works as a flow, as an exchange. There is abundance. The abundance is shared. And 3 is the fact that we are actually tricking ourselves without understanding, you see. We are again being deceived by the way thought works. Thought has always worked in this way of the future. One day I will be happy. One day I will love. One day I will open my heart. You see that there is no difference between the one day everything will be okay and one day I will open my heart. It is simply the very same future of the ego, just changing its form. So what we understand is that live a life for my own sake and the spiritual journey for my own sake is a source of suffering. This is the cause of suffering. And on the other hand, it is only in abandoning myself that I can find lasting, profound type of happiness. And of course, even right now, we are sitting for satsang. If you are with me, if you are meditating right now, you are actually shifting from self-concern, you see? You are suddenly abandoning your personal story. And as soon as we are shifting to universal concern, we feel elevated. This sense of elevation is because we have abandoned ourselves. So when we shift from our petty concerns to universal concern, we liberate ourselves from self-obsession. Suddenly our problems and desires, they become so insignificant, so ridiculously unimportant. And we feel so aligned with our true nature, so aligned with our realizations in meditation. So as soon as we turn to include others, the world, greater concerns that have nothing to do with the interest, the limited interest of the me. We experience the heart expanding. This is why they have in Buddhism the Bodhisattva vow. The Bodhisattva vow is this commitment of the practitioner, of the spiritual aspirant, not that one day when I become enlightened, I will be dedicated to all living beings and so on, but that I'm dedicating my journey right now to the welfare, to the benefit, to the happiness of as many beings as possible. Don't concern yourself with what form this takes. The thing is, it starts with intention. But if you take the Bodhisattva vow authentically, and you take it all the way to its ultimate conclusion, what happens is that you feel that your heart breaks. Because you are now starting to commit yourself to what you already can identify quite easily in meditation, that the world is your body, that there is no separation, that your I am is everywhere. that you're not the small self that you thought you were. So I wonder if you know the story of the Chinese Bodhisattva Kuan Yin. This is how the Bodhisattva vow is carried to its ultimate conclusion. Kuan Yin, the Bodhisattva, she, according to the legend, she leaves her body when it is her time to physically die. She leaves her body and she is moving, flowing as a free spirit all the way to the gates of heaven. And there is the gate, let's say the golden gate, and around it, all the saints and the Buddhas are waiting for her. They are waiting to receive her. And they are all so admiring, or because she did so much during her lifetime. She benefited many beings, and she spread the Dharma. So now with great admiration they welcome her into heaven. So Kuan Yin is just about to enter the gate, but then she looks back, she looks down. Something stops her. She realizes something is still incomplete. And then she notices that down there is still planet Earth. And on planet Earth, she can see so many sentient beings in continuous suffering, psychological, physical suffering. And then she becomes hesitant. She tells the saints and the Buddhas, but what about them? So they say, don't worry about them, because they have their own karma, their own process of evolution. They will probably need to reincarnate again and again and again in order to complete their cycle of understanding. This is life. And so, and you have already completed your journey. You can enter now. And Kuan Yin says, but how can I enter the gates of heaven, with only a part of me? If I actually enter the gates, I must enter with my whole being, and a part of me, my legs, my arms, they are still not with me. And then she takes a vow. And the vow is that she will never enter the gate until all sentient beings become fully liberated and free from suffering. So the legend says that Kuan Yin still stands there, just between heaven and the earth, waiting to enter as one being, because she experiences the universe as her body, just as we did in the meditation. So this is the awakened heart, you see. You feel that the world is your body. And therefore you commit yourself. Your realization is not a limited personal story. And this is why it is also so subtle, because it is essentially freedom from self-concern But this doesn't mean that you are really moving from self-concern to focus on others. Because if you move from self to other, to the self of others, this is still another illusion, you see. There is the illusion of the self, there is the illusion of the others, that there are others out there. This is why it is a sort of transitional stage, you see. You move to focus on others, to focus on the welfare, on the sake or on the greater good, just so you can leave behind the personal concern. But this is just transitional. This finally leads you beyond both, beyond me and others, to this state that the world is my body. In this state, that the world is my body, you will naturally and effortlessly, you will find it natural and effortless to focus on universal concerns and on others more than you would focus on yourself. You would no longer need to practice it. But until then, it must be a form of practice. It must be a form of practicing, practiced intention to awaken this heart that is thirsty for its own grandness, you see. For that, perhaps you need to start feeling that you are already this universal being, trusting it, practicing it. That this is truer than the feeling of your present smallness. That's a false identity. So we can say that this focus, this clear intention is the motivation, is both the motivation behind the entire spiritual journey, but it is also the destination or the outcome of the entire journey. How do we do it? First, we begin to aspire for insight, to aspire for experience, to aspire for meditation in order to benefit others, in order to benefit the world. It's not for me. My flowering is for others to enjoy, to benefit from, to gain. My expansion is for the sake of the expansion of the world. So it is in the intention behind any practice, but it is also in action, because it cannot be just intentional. It is also in the way we shape our life. Is our life shaped for the greater good? Or is our life still centered on just our own self-concerns all day long? Of course, this doesn't mean that we are meant to save the world. I hope you are not going to have some kind of messianic visions as a result. It's not about saving the world, because the world doesn't need saving. It is about being available profoundly for its true needs. You see, for what the world truly needs from us, we finally become available. We finally become sensitive. Our sensitivity grows. We can notice clearly how we can be of service. So that has been the reminder, today's reminder, how we can reflect more profoundly on the way the journey unfolds. And now let's see if there are any questions. I already have questions, but let's see if there is any question concerning the topic.
Yet.
Not yet?
No, it's starting.
Okay.
Okay, so one question from Gemma.
Yes. Hello.
Then there is any need to know our family tree influence, or to awaken our heart first we need to know ourselves?
Again?
Okay, I will reformulate it. Is there any need to know our family tree influence, or do we first to know ourselves to awaken our heart?
Our family tree? Do we mean the sort of family imprints? Do we mean that the way we are imprinted or influenced, and we are meant to free ourselves from this sort of encoding, or I'm not sure I understand the question, in short. Because I don't understand why this is the option, or the other option is focusing on ourselves. Well, if I understand what you're asking, then I would say again, on our journey, we are going to be to realize many types of conditioning and many types of influences. You see, we have been influenced by everything. We are actually, our very sense of personal self is the sum total of all reactions to our environment. This is the self. We are the result of this conditioning, the conditioning that is reaction to certain experiences, to certain events, certain statements that we heard from others, the society we live in, the religion we grew up in, the nation, and so on and so on. Perhaps there is also the influence of the history of our nation. So there are so many types of influences, and here we are, the sum total of all these influences, completely conditioned. So there is no such thing as focus on liberating myself, or as focusing on liberating myself from any form of conditioning, because I am this conditioning. I am made of conditioning. You see, and we need to understand that a part of this conditioning is the very limited sense of concern, self-concern. Everyone is concerned with their family, with their tribe, with their community, with their friends, with their nation, with their religion. This is the self. The self is the sum total of all these concerns. Everything that it defines as belonging to itself, you see? But this keeps our heart very small. This keeps our heart very small because everyone does that. Everyone avoids this, their universal nature, and turns all the focus on one's own personal story. This personal story is actually completely random. In the very same way, we could have been placed somewhere else. I could have been living right now in Africa, right? And then I will be identified with this nation, with that nation, and with that family, and with that conditioning. So, who am I? To find who I am, I must remove all these layers of influences to find the naked me and the naked heart. The naked heart is universal, you see. It doesn't create fences of my religion, my nation, my family, my body. This is awakening. When we are beginning to realize, to focus on our universal nature rather than our random, circumstantial self. There is a question here from, there are questions here. Usually I don't manage to answer so many questions from one person, so forgive me, but I will read it. This is from Kirsten. It's a written question. Is resurrection real or a legend? I read recently autobiography of a yogi where Yogananda describes the resurrection of his guru. Can humanity overcome diseases when we know how mind over matter works? I must say all the Heal Yourself seminars cause a lot of stress inside me, because that would mean when I'm ill, it is my fault and I feel a lot of pressure. But the internet is full of successful self-healing stories. What is the truth? And what to do, discovering the nothing emptiness or focusing on positive thoughts and results? So I will try to somehow include all these questions. Is resurrection real or a legend? This is a simple answer. I don't know. I don't know because in as far as I can tell, aside from these kind of stories, I have not witnessed directly this kind of thing, and I sometimes tend to doubt these stories as perfect truths, asking myself perhaps they are to some degree metaphors. Resurrection is a tremendous metaphor, you see. It's a metaphor for the one who rises above death, life and death. Is the one who realizes that the I am can move past through death and still remain. So I'm questioning whether we are not, as humanity, creating these stories as metaphors. Because the question is it so important for us to understand whether resurrection is actual or not, if resurrection doesn't seem to be available to us as an option? I have never met a teacher capable of bringing people back from the dead. So the question is whether that is really what should concern us, or should we understand that as the perfect metaphor for something that is much more tremendous, you see? It is actually very limited to be able to bring somebody from the dead, because this is still, again, the relative and changing circumstances. One, sooner or later, this person that has been brought from the dead would need to die, right? Or do we talk about resurrection of somebody and then making them now immortal? Even Jesus died, didn't he? Even Yogananda and his master Sri Yukteswar, they died. So is there a real story about their capacity to return momentarily from the dead? Or is the real story our fear of death, because we don't know ourselves and we don't know what is going to die and what is going to be alive, because we don't know what life is? Do you understand? Since when you put your entire attention on the question of what life is, if you really grasp what life is, you will never care about resurrection. You see? So this is the question. Can I meditate on the greatest miracle of resurrection, which is the realization of the I am? What lies behind it, the eternity that lies behind it? For this eternity, there is neither birth nor death, neither death nor resurrection, you see. is not concerned with these things. So now you ask, this almost follows the previous question: can humanity overcome diseases when we know how mind over matter works? Well, let's take an honest look at the history of all spiritual teachers. Not only that all spiritual teachers have died, but also many spiritual teachers died of sickness, cancer, and diabetes. I'm just running through my head different heart attack, and so on and so on. So if spiritual masters, who are the beyond doubt the embodiment of mind over matter, beyond doubt, but they still die and they have cancer and heart failure and diabetes, and they suffer from different illnesses, then is illness so terribly bad? Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that, I know that because of our attachment to life, because we don't know what life is, we are attached to the thing we call life, which means physical survival. And this becomes so tremendously important to us to survive. We are not really alive, but we really want to survive. And we not only want to survive, we want to persist. We want to never die. So disease is a part of the human journey. It's a part of being a human. We cannot avoid it. We cannot avoid physical pain, because this realm must be, by its very nature, a realm of pain and discomfort, because it's a realm of limitation. Now, people then have fantasies. The fantasies is about defeating illness altogether. Do they mean also defeating death? Because death is the biggest illness, right? From which no one recovers. So, unless they get to be resurrected. So, so what I'm saying is not that it's not a good idea to heal yourself, right? I have my own methods of healing myself, and sometimes I share them with others. And I do everything in my power and in my limited intelligence to avoid disease. Everything in my power, hopefully. But perhaps sometimes there are excesses, there is effort, there is straining oneself and one's body that inevitably leads it to some disease. So do everything you can. If you feel inclined to healing yourself, to heal yourself, do that as well. But please make sure that you don't fall into the trap of the fantasy of complete power over reality, complete power and complete defeat of the limitation that is inherent in our human existence. You see? Being ill is not always a sign that we have failed. It is very often simply a part of the inherent pain of the human experience. Suffering is not inherent in the human experience. Pain is inherent. You see? Suffering is something else. We don't need to suffer. But we surely must experience pain. So people dream of self-healing stories, and they spread it, but they never spread the stories where they really believed that they could heal themselves and they died. Because this is also true. We only focus on these stories. But I know of many people who have really tried to follow self-healing, but the body couldn't contain it. And this is not a failure. This is the reality of human life. In the 20th century, two tremendous teachers, one Lama Yeshe, and the other one is the previous Karmapa, both Tibetan. They were great Buddhas, and both didn't live beyond 50. Around 50, they died, and with quite a great deal of physical pain. So this has nothing to do with a lack of awareness. Sometimes the way we deal with our illnesses, the way we shine with our awareness in spite of the illness, sometimes this is the best teaching, the best success story. You see? Sometimes this is the real success story. That's mind over matter. Yes.
A question from Janet.
Yes, Janet.
It's a question about the feeling of lack.
Lack, yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't it mean that if I'm in lack, the world is also in lack? And if I don't allow this fullness and abundance for myself, then the world can't be in fullness or abundance either?
Again, the question is about lack, the sense of lack, that I'm missing something. Yes?
Doesn't it mean that if I'm in lack, then the world is in lack too? If I don't allow this fullness or abundance for myself, then the world can't be in fullness or abundance either.
Yes, but what is the sense of lack? This is the question. The feeling that I'm missing something. The whole world is in lack anyway, you see, because what we experience in ourselves is the psychological condition of the entire world, the entire humanity. We simply reflect it personally, and then we see it outside of ourselves. The world is in constant hunger, right? Everyone is missing something. Everyone needs something. Everyone feels incomplete. Everyone says, if I only had that, then I would be complete. If I only had that, then I would be happy. So, do we ask, is it possible that when I realize the illusion of my incompleteness, then in a way something in the world is also relieved of this illusion? And is it that when I feel this incompleteness, that the world is still incomplete? But do we understand why we have this sense of lack? You see, because as you say, this is a universal story, not only yours, so your story, or the story of others, right? Everyone has it. why do we have it? If you understand why you have it, then you are beginning to find a way for everyone else to not have it anymore. You see? Then you can radiate this sense. You can begin to affect the world through this absence of illusion in you. Why do we lack something? Why right now, when you communicate with me, why would you feel this? This is only because we don't know our true being. We don't understand how complete it is. So the problem is that we are disconnecting from our true being, from the sense of the true universal being, and we are focusing only on this limited self-interest. And wherever there is separation, there is also a sense of lack, a sense of hunger. The hunger is not real. When we enter meditation, even when we are extremely psychologically hungry, we realize how easily this can dissolve for a time. So if this means that we can be free from this sense of lack so easily, this means that it doesn't have a solid existence. It exists only as long as we sustain it through our thought. So it all begins in you. If you find the root of this lack inside you, then you find the root of the sense of lack in everything, in everyone else. A last question.
Question from Tamir. Are there situations where there are desires you need to complete?
Wait, again, please, yes?
Are there situations where there are some desires you need to complete or fulfill before opening the heart?
Are there situations or desires you need to complete before awakening the heart?
Yes.
Right? No, not at all. This is exactly the point. This is an important question as the last question, because opening the heart is not the business of the future. It's not something that you do one day after you have completed a certain process. That's exactly how our thinking deceives us, you see, by telling us just do this, do that. You still have some desires to complete, and then everything is perfect. Then you can open your heart. Then you will have all the time in the world. First pursue these desires. If you follow this path, I can promise you it will never end. Because the path that thought paves for you, that it lays out for you, doesn't really have an end. Part of the deception is telling you, if you do this, that, and that, you will complete this and that. This is always, as a law, a lie, you see? Because because it tells you if you only do this and that in life, then you will be perfectly happy. Have you ever followed this path? I'm sure you have. We all have done that. Being wise is realizing, oh, not again. I'm not buying into this story. Your path leads only to further path. You see, it's without horizon. You walk, and you say, okay, only a little more, and there will be final satisfaction. And you reach that which you thought was the end. Suddenly you realize it continues endlessly. Why? Because this path doesn't lead to satisfaction. It doesn't lead to happiness. By its very nature, it is a path. It has no end. So now don't get me wrong. Opening the heart doesn't mean that you don't follow any of your desires, any of your wishes. It doesn't mean now that you are eradicating your journey. It doesn't mean that now you can leave behind everything necessarily, not at all. You will still have a lot to uncover, a lot to fulfill, and so on. But what we're saying here is that the context in which the entire path takes place is heart opening. Heart opening is why you do all that, is the beginning and the middle and the end of the path. It's your realization that whatever steps you take right now are meant to bring to the end of desire, to the end of personal pursuit, not to endless self-obsession. Because what you determine for yourself is to dedicate your life to the greater good. Because without this, nothing matters. Very good. So, I hope that this evening has benefited some of you, and may your month be full of blessings, awareness of the miracle of awareness, and clear intention of why you're doing everything you're doing. Good night.